Nerijus was 16, his body forged into perfect lines and violent explosions, but the hand on the controls belonged to a much younger child, frozen forever in the moment his father closed the door without looking back. Every practice, every blister, every snapped tendon was a silent offering to that absent figure. He felt air where substance should have been. Without his father's love restored, Nerijus was only hollow scaffolding around a screaming absence. His mother had helped carve the wound deeper from the start. When he was small and clung to her legs after another cancelled weekend, she would kneel and whisper, "Your father left because I wasn't enough. But you can be everything he wants. Just keep getting better, darling. Then he'll come back. He'll have to." She stayed up bleeding at the sewing machine to reinforce his leotards, filled scrapbooks with every mention of his name, repeated the promise until it became the child's only truth. His father himself kept the hope alive with careless scraps. A postcard after a minor win, "Heard you took gold. Keep making me proud, champ. One brief call, make it to the big international stage and maybe we'll come watch." Always a maybe. Always a condition. The child treasured each word like a sacred relic. Inga only sealed the verdict. She observed Nerijus contort on her pristine floor with faint revulsion. "It's not healthy," she told his father loudly enough for the boy to hear. "Normal children don't live this way." His father said nothing. The silence was confirmation. Moscow was the final altar. The arena was a cavern of cold light and echoing noise, thousands of faces blurred into a single judging mass. Nerijus stood at the edge of the mat, chalk dusting his palms like ritual ash, heart hammering against the cage of his ribs. He could feel the postcard words burning in his pocket, the phone call promise looping in his skull, the big international stage. This was it. The drug slid into his vein the night before by a quiet doctor wearing the faded colors of the National Federation, hummed through him now like a second pulse, sharpening every nerve until the air itself felt edged. He mounted the pommel horse first. The world narrowed to circles and scissor kicks, body slicing through space with impossible cleanliness. Each flare, each spindle, each handstand transition landed in perfect silence, no wobble, no correction. The judge's pens hovered, then scratched upward. On rings he held iron crosses that trembled not once. Strength rings singing with tension as he swung into a Maltese that drew an involuntary gasp from the crowd. Floor exercise became pure flight, triple back tucked, triple twist laid out, a quadruple pirouette stuck cold. The final dismount, a full twisting double layout, ended with his feet planted as though magnetized to the mat. Not a hop. Arms flung wide in presentation. For one suspended instant the arena held its breath, then erupted. Scores flashed, 9.9, 9.95, 9.9. Highest of the competition. Gold. In that moment Nerijus felt the fracture begin to close, felt almost weightless, as if gravity might finally release him. He scanned the stands for the strong arms that once threw him laughing into the sky, certain that perfection had finally summoned them home. The medal hung heavy around his neck, but inside he was buoyant, convinced the doorbell would ring any day now. Back in Vilnius, still riding the afterglow of gold, Nerijus waited for the call that never came. Then the body turned traitor. Nights brought involuntary routines, muscles firing in his sleep, forcing him into slow, flawless circles on an invisible pommel horse that left him bruised and dusted with chalk when he woke. His spine cracked and elongated with each forced arch, as if something inside was redesigning him for higher scores. On the third night the men emerged. They stepped from the shadows, one cradling a bright surgical knife, the other a broad axe. They did not speak threats. They began work. Nerijus lay paralyzed as the knife slid between ribs, parting flesh with a wet sigh. He smelled his own flesh sealing, watched a rib lifted out and discarded as unnecessary weight. The axe shaved millimeters from bone with ringing strokes while they discussed center of gravity in measured tones. A faint scent of ozone lingered when they withdrew. He found only unmarked skin, but he was lighter, air moving through new hollows inside his chest with an echoing whistle on each breath. The next morning chalk dust lay scattered across the dormitory floor in patterns no one else had noticed. An orderly swept it away without comment, muttering about the boy being down another 3 kilos this month, no explanation. By evening, faint prints led from the bed to the window and back. The procedures continued nightly, leaving him progressively more hollow, more buoyant. Back in Vilnius, Nerijus reached the final equation. His mother was the last remaining excuse. Her existence allowed his father to believe the boy was cared for, safe to forget. Remove her, and the vacuum would become intolerable. His father would have to fill it. She was warming milk in the kitchen, humming the lullaby from his earliest memories. Nerijus entered without a sound, chose the longest knife, and began the routine. 1 for every year she absorbed his father's guilt. 2 for every competition she had driven him to. 3 for every time she promised perfection would bring his father home. His face remained expressionless, gaze fixed on an invisible judging panel awarding flawless 10s. When the counting ended, he sat beside the cooling body and waited for the doorbell. They found him the next morning, still counting under his breath. In the institution, the men returned each night, debating final refinements now that resistance had ceased. Medication reduced their voices to static but never halted the cold bite of steel. His father visited once. Inga waited in the corridor with their 10-month-old son Lukas, a sturdy, laughing boy already kicking a small ball against the wall with confident joy. His father looked at Nerijus through the reinforced glass and spoke quietly. "I always knew you'd end up like this," he said. "Too intense." A pause. He rubbed the back of his neck, a faint smile touching his mouth as if recognizing a family trait he was glad to have outgrown. "Your mother always said you took after me." Nerijus tilted his head, listening for the pride that was not there. On Christmas morning, the communal radio played local holiday features. One segment carried a bright interview, father and Inga describing their first Christmas with Lukas, how he had taken his first independent steps the day before, how he laughed without restraint, how ordinary and complete family life finally felt, and how this one would be easier, another little athlete due next summer. Nerijus listened until the voices faded into carols. He pressed his ear to the hollow of his own chest, straining for footsteps that weren't there. Nothing. Then he tore long strips from his mattress, knotted them with the same mechanical precision he once applied to dowel grips before a release move, and hanged himself from the exposed pipe. The thin fabric tore midway. He dropped. The body hit the floor with less sound than expected. No one came.